Good morning, first graders. Happy Thursday, happy art day. Welcome back. Today will be our last lesson before we go on winter break. So before we get started, I just want to say I hope you all have a nice, relaxing winter break with family. Make sure you get outside and get some fresh air. Hopefully we'll have some snow to play in. And I hope you guys do some creating over winter break. Paint, draw, color, play with Play-Doh, do creative things. And yeah, I hope you guys all have an awesome break. Let's get started. All right, guys, so last week we started by drawing our snowman, right? Our snowwoman. And so you're gonna need your paper that we started that on, some crayons, and then I have my book, Snowmen at Night, that we can look at because we're, like I said last week, we're going to be focusing on those highlights and those shadows. So if we look at the front cover here, we see this area, this light area where it looks like there's light shining. That would be a highlighted area. This would be a highlighted area, kind of right under here. These areas that are light blue in between the snowmen, that's like a highlighted area, right? And then these long, darker spots, these are gonna be the shadows, okay? So we're gonna talk about how we can create highlights and shadows by using crayons. Usually this project would be done with oil pastels, which would help us like blend the colors a little bit more, but we're gonna work with what we have and we're gonna use crayons. So this is a great example right here of a highlight. See how it's just real light along the edges right there? That would be a great example of a highlight and how there's light, white, like almost like a, actually, if we talk about the colors that we see here, so in the snow, we know snow's white, but this is not necessarily white, right? There's some, what color would you say is in there? Same thing with right here, like a yellow, right? And then in the shadows, okay, we know that snow is white, but to make the shadows, we're doing like this, like almost like purplish blue color, right? And it's darker closer to the snowman underneath, and then it gets a little bit lighter as we go further away, okay? So we're gonna talk about that. And we're gonna create our own highlights and shadows. Here we go. All right, so we're definitely gonna need we're definitely gonna need yellow, maybe both yellows, okay? We're going to need some different blues, maybe some purple. Okay, and that's just gonna be kind of to start. So let's actually start by, yeah, we're gonna start with the yellow, okay? And we are going to kind of highlight, just like on our book. Let's kind of base it off of this example right here. So we're gonna have the highlight coming from on the left, that's where the light's coming from. And then over here on the ground, we're gonna have a little bit of the shadow, okay? So we're gonna start by kind of just doing a light bit of yellow. Now I always talk about how we don't want it to look like a stripe. We want it to kind of gradually get lighter. We don't want it to just be one yellow line. So I might it might go lighter and lighter as I get in closer to the middle of my circle, kind of like that. All right, and then we're gonna do the same thing up here. Now you can go back and erase your pencil lines if you want to once we get done putting in these highlighted areas. Okay, and then there's a little bit on the snowman's head. Okay. All right. Now we're gonna go in with that blue. Now it's a little bit of a light. It's almost like this blue right here, like a blue-green almost. another kind of blue. Yep, I'm using my other container. Or indigo, there we go. All right. So I'm gonna use this one right here. And you want to make sure you're coloring very, very lightly to get the effect of a shadow. If we press down hard, it's going to be really, really hard to get that. I mean, I'm like barely even pressing. Going very, very light. And you'll see you'll get a little bit of green there when we mix the blue and the yellow together. That's okay, because there's a little bit of, it looks a little green on our book. Now usually we would color this with oil pastels white, and then we would go over it with the blue, and like I said, it would help kind of blend, so it would be like the blue and the white mixing together, making a light blue. And as you can see, I'm creating like this blue area here and then coming down on the side. And then this right here, we're gonna keep kind of white and maybe add a little bit more yellow. And go with my darker yellow. Alright. Okay. Now we're going to do, let's see, why don't we go ahead and do our our shadows up here in the middle part of our snowman's body. Right, there's a little bit of blue shadowing up there, and it goes kind of down the front, and then right down here it stays, it's going to be like that yellowish color again. So we have blue here. This is actually much easier to do with oil pastels. It is kind of tricky with crayons, but I still think you guys can do it. And you can see it's kind of darker closer to the edge. So to get this color darker, right, we're going to just press our crayon down a little bit harder than we were before, right? We were barely pressing it down before. So now we can press it down a little bit harder, and that will make it darker and give it more of an appearance of a shadow. Same thing here. And it's almost like I'm working in a circular motion, like I'm moving my crayon in like little ovals. We can go back again in with that yellow. And it's okay, like I said, if we have a little bit of that green from the blue and the yellow mixing. Just like that. All right, and then finally, let's go ahead and do our head. It's a little bit blue up at the top. It's definitely darker at the top than it is bottom, so kind of go like that. And then we'll go back in with that yellow. And I'm coloring around my mouth. I'm going to go and add those details here in a second. Alright. Try doing a little bit of white. It's not going to do a whole lot. It'll just make your blue a little bit lighter maybe. Yeah. Alright. Now, let's go ahead and go and add those details. So, my hat doesn't have to be black. I could do any color hat, but I am going to make my hat black. I'm going to color it in. And then I am going to do my scarf. So let's see here. I'm going to do a pink and green scarf. I'm going to do my orange carrot nose. And then I'm going to do brown because usually my snowman has arms made out of sticks, right? That. Got the eyes. Okay. Now, like I said, you can go back and erase those pencil lines if you want to. Like that. And then we're going to add that shadow at the bottom of our paper. So it's just kind of right here. It's like a little line. Right down here. It's like an oval. And then we can add a little bit of that darker blue. Down at the bottom of our snowman. To show the shadow. And I can even add a little bit of purple in there to make it even darker. And as I get further away from the edge, it's going to get lighter, right? Because the light's coming from over here. So it's going to be darker that way. And I can press harder down with my crayon over here. And then it'll gradually get lighter this way. And you can add a little bit of darker blue up here too on the next circle to create those shadows. You just don't want it to look like a stripe, right? You just don't want like a line going. Okay? All right. Then you guys can totally add stuff in the background. You can put a big shining, well here you see the moon here, so you could draw a big yellow circle with the moon glowing and do the night blue sky in the background. You could draw snowflakes. You could draw something else, maybe a little mini snowman. Look at these guys have different things in their hands, so maybe you want to draw, maybe one of them's holding a broom. This one's holding a broom, so you could do that, right? Add a broom. Like that. Okay, you could add other stuff in the background if you want to. And that's it. So I'm going to add, maybe I want to add some little snowflakes. Okay. Maybe I want to go in with my really light blue-green and color the whole background. You can add texture to the background, like we've done before, where I put something underneath my paper and color over it to make it a little bit more interesting. So you can take your paper and take your color and go like that and give it a textured background. That looks pretty cool, right? That looks really cool. So you can do that also. You just want to make sure that you keep it, you don't do it in your snowman, only the background. So that the background would be anything around the snowman, okay? All right, guys. That is it for today. I cannot wait to see all of your finished snowmen from our story, Snowmen at Night, with your highlights and your shadows. Upload a picture, and I hope you guys all have such a wonderful break. Have fun, be safe, create. Have a great day.